afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the third and annual final webinar, which has been part of UKZN's 2023 Jazz Festival, where we are celebrating 40 years of the Jazz Studies program at UKZN. April is also Jazz Appreciation Month, but here in Durban, we've been celebrating this 40-year milestone over the past 4 days with a series of beautiful jazz concerts and online webinars, and it all culminates with a very exciting announcement of a new jazz festival on International Jazz Day, Sunday, the 30th of April, as all the jazz musicians do know, which one of our panelists will tell us a little more about. My name is Debbie Mari. I'm a Durban-based jazz vocalist and pianist. I'm a community music practitioner and a project manager. I'm also a lecturer in the Jazz Studies program at UKZN. I studied at the former University of Natal in the early 90s. So I've also had the privilege of experiencing a transformation in the music discipline. And I've also had the experience of both as a student, being in the program, both as a student and as a staff member. Very interesting moments those have been indeed. This festival that we are celebrating and these webinars have been a wonderful opportunity for us to celebrate and also reflect on the last 40 years of jazz education at UKZN and also nationally. But this reflection also provides an opportunity to rethink, to refocus, and to redefine traditions, a little more intentional look at music education in the 21st century, what is meant by music business, what it means to be a musician in this moment in time, why and how we teach jazz or even music now and in the future. But before we start getting into our discussion, we at the Center for Jazz and Popular Music would like to thank our partners and our sponsors for this event. Center for Jazz and Popular Music has partnered with the Center for Creative Arts at UKZN. Thank you to their amazing team, including Bash, who has organized our technical this afternoon, the University of Johannesburg, UJ Arts and Culture, the South African Association for Jazz Education, SAJE, as we all know it, the Sagir Foundation, and JAM, Jazz Appreciation Month. It also gives me great pleasure to introduce our wonderful and esteemed panelists. They'll be sharing their knowledge and experience of the South African music industry with us all today. Let us welcome Philani Atlas Duma, who is the founder and CEO of the Sagir Foundation. He hails from Bulwer Village next to the Drakensberg Mountains and currently resides in KwaMashu in Durban. He graduated with a diploma in jazz and light music from the former Technikon Natal in the year 2000. He has continued greatly to contribute to jazz heritage, conservation, and development through the work of the Sagir Foundation, including organizing many jazz concerts under the Sagir brand. He also has a record label, Sagir Records, which has recorded and released many award-winning jazz, KZN-based jazz artists, including the Umkombane Jazz Ensemble, Mtobisi Mthalane, Bongani Mkonyana, Vincent Mtetwa, Nduduzi Magwaza, Nikki Shange, and Royalson, amongst others. He is the General Secretary of the Cultural Connection Africa, which was founded in Boston in the USA, and he is the Communications Officer of the KZN Jazz Appreciators Association. He's also currently organizing an upcoming jazz festival, which I will let Atlas tell us a little more about throughout the discussion. Joining us from Cape Town is vocalist and songwriter Maya Spector, whose voice, hi Maya, has been described as pure honey with darkness and sweetness that tells her stories convincingly. Her artistic roots are derived from the worlds of jazz and soul music. She graduated in 2001 from the University of KwaZulu-Natal, where she specialized in jazz performance and music education. and she has written and recorded 2 albums since those days. Maya works as a solo and session musician in the global music scene, spreading her talents across the board from classical music to jazz, as well as appearing in musical theatre productions. During 2020 lockdown, Maya went on to further her studies through the prestigious Henley Business School Africa, after being awarded a full scholarship to study a postgraduate diploma in business practice management. Welcome, Maya. Our third panelist is Soweto-born creative artist in music, Concord Nkabende, who has worked with many internationally acclaimed artists as a performer, composer, producer, and music educator. Concord's passion for cross-cultural collaboration exploration has led to various projects within and outside of South Africa. He's also quite involved with the facilitation of music business workshops amongst developing creatives in South Africa. Usually you will find him in Johannesburg, but he's joining us today all the way from Ireland. And we hope that he will let us know what exciting project has taken him there and how he made it happen. We'll talk today about what it means to survive, to function, and or to thrive in the South African music industry. Each of our panelists has studied music formally, graduating with 3 different music qualifications. They have all sustained a music career for themselves over the years in 3 very different ways. Some may say there's an element of entrepreneurship here. Perhaps it's just music business as we know it. We're all practicing musicians with a diverse set of skills and years of experience working in the music industry in this country. Help me welcome Atlas, Maya, and Concord. How are you doing, guys?
Well, thank you. And yourself?
So good. Lovely to see you all again.
We thank you so much, Debbie. We are here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Good to have you here, Conks. Perhaps by way of introduction, you could each share your journeys into music and ultimately into the music industry, how it began, why you chose to study music at a higher education institution, so where it all began for you. Perhaps we could start with you, Maya.
Okay, well, I have to make a correction on my CV there, on my bio. I graduated in 2005, so that's kind of going towards my story now, is that I always did music growing up. My mother is a retired opera singer, and my father worked within the art sector for a long time. He's still alive, but he's a retired American diplomat. So throughout my house, we always had music playing. We had wonderful, amazing people coming in and out of our house in whatever country we were living in. And so that's, if anybody's wondering why I speak with a little bit of an American twang there. So I was kind of forced into singing in the church with my mom when I was young. Forced is a loose word. I very much enjoyed it, singing in the choirs and stuff. But then I found that the classical route was not quite the way to harness my energy. I needed a little bit more of a creative outlet that was going to allow me to be a multifaceted sort of vocalist and instrumentalist. And I put off going to university for a long time after high school. So I was much older than most of the students are when they go to the university. So I think I started when I was not that old, but 24. But all that time before that, I was making music with all sorts of different artists and collaborating in all sorts of genres, from musical theater, which I really, really dearly love to this day. And sometimes a little bit of classical, but there's a lot of rules there for me. And then Darius Brubeck is a friend of my dad, and he saw us when I was in Johannesburg, and he's like, "What is your daughter doing? Why is she not studying music formally?" And said, "We've got this wonderful university in Durban. She should consider doing that." And at that time, I had been accepted to Berklee College of Music from university when I was in high school. And it was just very, 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 very expensive to go there in 2001. And so I didn't want to either be in student debt for the rest of my life or to put my parents through that as well. So I decided to come to UKZN, and I had a wonderful, fabulous, eclectic time there, and was able to draw upon different influences from music that I hadn't heard a lot of. So yeah, that's kind of how I got into music, and I've always been songwriting. I'm sure anybody in my family can tell you I used to make people listen to songs I was writing, whether they were good or bad. I used to make them listen to the songs I was writing, and then I learned how to harness that at university, especially with one of my wonderful lecturers that's passed on, Zim. So he basically was so instrumental in teaching me how to believe in the songs that I write. So I can remember there was one, what was it, performance class where he would say, bring a poem and just read your poem, Maya. Just read your poem in true Zim style. Just read your poem and make something up, make something up. We're having a free jazz session now. And that's what happened. And then I started really believing in my songwriting skills because I was like, oh, that's pretty good. So yeah, that's kind of what happened. And I've really grown as a songwriter, and I get commissioned to write songs for people. And yeah, that's basically the story of my musical journey in a nutshell, as much as I can put it.
Thank you, Maya. That's can I just say that we are also thrilled, although I mean I wasn't a staff member in the jazz program or teaching voice at the time when you were a student, but I'm so.
Oh, you were one of my teachers at one point.
Well, that was actually before. Well, I should have said it differently. It was before I was full-time in the position that I'm in now. So yeah. So, but we're thrilled that you chose UKZN too. And I just loved how, as you spoke through all those memories of the past, including your time spent with Zim and the performance class, how I can see you're conjuring up those happy memories, which is good. Good. How did it all start for you, Atlas?
Yes, Debbie. It is excited to be here, and I greet everyone. Yes, we are here. We are telling our stories. I didn't think that I could be studying music when I was growing up, but it happened that when I was rehearsing with a local gospel group, they actually, one of the church members decided to issue some scholarship to anyone who's going to be studying music, nothing but music, Then I put my name in, then I went to Technical Natal, then I did some few auditions, then I was shortlisted. That's how I decided to focus on the music in a holistic way. Then by then we were so excited, and I studied with during the very good times where we were joined by Begim Seleku, So Begim Seleku came up with a different approach when we joined the academic kind of the learning. Because I once heard that he didn't study music, but he was so much recognized even overseas. Then when he came there, he said, okay, guys, now you can learn your academic approach and everything, but please note and be proud of being Africans. So he gave us so many variety of as to how to approach music in an African way. So that when the likes of Dr. Nduduzo Makhathini decided to put focus in a way that Mseleku was approaching the music, So I heard that Nduduzo took him as the role model when he was writing his thesis, So that brings about proud during the times of Begim Seleku and studying music at the Technical Natal by that time. So that is when, before the department was moved to the UKZN. And again, there's a lot of artists that actually benefited a lot. And we we're ending up like being family, you know. Yes. So with my journey, way back from school, I'm this kind of person who want to start things that actually never existed before. I started a school's organization called Art Student Redevelopment Project. So we were able to access funds from the school as one of the organization, like students organizations. So then your Zexbantwini, your Black Coffee, your Shota, you name them. So your Polisa Dlamini joined that organization, and then we were able to go around and having some gigs. But you know, Danny, as the head of the department by that time, who used to say, guys, you are not ready as yet. Do not go out there and perform. You know, until such time that the band that I was leading won the very popular music competition. They call it Shell Road to Fame, you know. So this band won Shell Road to Fame by that time. And the Technicon was very, very excited about that. They even gave us funds to travel and go for the final staging of the competition at Northwest, you know. So it was exciting, those exciting moments. After that, Old Mutual Jazz Encounters came about and we won that competition, and Demi decided that, oh, okay, now you guys are doing this thing. Then eventually we were sponsored by the Playhouse Company. Then we went to Grahamstown Jazz Festival. So that was our first group of students that got an opportunity to go to Grahamstown Jazz Festivals. And when we came back, the department decided to ending up sending students to Grahamstown for several times, you know, so we were kind of the trendsetter during that time. Well, as time went by, I put together, okay, this band, Sakia Foundation, was doing, I mean, Sakia band, who was recruiting students by that time. Triumph its way up, you know, winning these competitions. But there's this such time whereby I just got sick. Then when I got sick, I was very, very not trusted by the musicians that if they hire me for as a drummer, you know, they lost a lot of trust. Then I said to myself, okay, let me see if how I can just concentrate more into the business part of it, you know. So then I decided to register Sakia Foundation as an entity. Then this entity now is being able to attract funding, you know, like your National Art Council, your Mzansi Golden Economy, even those funds that are being issued by HMN municipality, your KZN provincial government, you know. So I started to look at it, and I also went to Boston Business College. Then that's where I studied the nitty-gritties of the music business. Then by so doing that, I gained a lot of confidence that I can able to sign the artist. And that's when Sakia Records was born, you know. Then I signed a few artists that to test the feel of it. Then I saw those artists playing in radio stations, you know. As time went by, I signed the core jazz artists, Yom Kumbane Jazz Ensemble, Toby Simtala, John Boganukanyana, you name them. So when these guys are winning some of the competitions, I mean the awards, your SATMA awards, your MMI awards, you know, then and some other local awards. So that actually confirmed that no, things are happening for the musicians, especially at KZN. Then, you know, I started to gain trust, and musicians also are getting trust that we can also contribute towards the culture of jazz, you know. Yes, so now it went to a point whereby I am organizing this massive jazz festival I call KZN International Jazz Festival. It's for the first time it's gonna be so much iconic because of the support that it gets from the National Department of Arts and Culture, you know. So all these things are going organically in such a way that no one could say, I am the only one behind Sakia on Atlas who is able to direct him as to how to outsource funds, to get funds. I just sit down with my laptop and apply. So that's the only way that you can do. And I encourage everyone out there that don't rely on someone else who can actually saying, you ending up actually saying, I cannot do it because I do not know anyone, you know. Just sit down with your laptop, check those call for funding and apply, you know. So in a nutshell, I think I can just end there. Yes.
That's a great place to end, and we want to congratulate you also on the vision that you seem to have had right from the very beginning. You know, those early years, even when you were still at the Technikon, you just hearing you tell your story and explain it in this way, it seems to me, you know, just listening to your story really for the first time, is that you had quite a clear vision about the way you saw your role, both as a musician, but also as an entrepreneur, or, you know, it doesn't matter what label we really give it, but just as a person functioning in the industry, and that you had that vision from so early. And I found that interesting because we often hear, you know, our students graduate, they go out into the world. We hear, you know, some of them, you know, pursue these incredible careers in the industry. You know, others try and they feel when they don't get the funding or they don't get the big festival or the big gig that it's just time to pack it up. And then you look back at incredible talent that isn't there anymore, and you hear that they gave up because they felt that they weren't going to get anywhere. So it's also, you know, your story also speaks so much about perseverance and the importance for, you know, all of our parts of our lives of just keeping on and always trying to make it happen for ourselves. On that point, I think that's a great way to introduce Concord, because I know Concord. You spoke earlier, Atlas, about family. I feel also a little bit like it's a family gathering with Concord in the house, because although we went in the same year at university, we were there at the same time. So I'll welcome Brother Concord. And also because he is a really amazing example of someone who just makes it happen, and he makes it happen for himself and by himself. Concord, can you share your gems with us, please?
I'm not sure what making it happen, but yeah. Yeah, thank you so much, and greetings to everybody, Maya, Atlas, and you, Debbie, and all the former UKZN jazz students who may be watching this, and anyone else. Greetings from Scal in West Cork in Ireland. We did a concert last night at the Ballydehob Jazz Festival. It's a project led by a singer called Camilla Griesel, and the project is called Mama Song. And it's exciting to be able to do projects that really speak to you, because this is a collaboration between Sweden, Ireland, DRC Congo, and South Africa. And the basis of the project is us sharing our sentiments from our mother's impacts in our lives. And it's a very special project. So it's just been released last night. So if you on Bandcamp or on iTunes, look out for Camilla Griesel, Mama Song. Yo, UKZN. At our times, it was called UND Durban, right? University of Natal, Durban. For me, I always say in my career, it was a very special moment of defining one's possibilities in future, and maybe not so much on the music or technical side of things, but as a space to firstly network and just to see what other people are doing. And also, you know, I guess the discipline part of it does come into play. Submitting assignments on time. Ooh. Yeah, so it's those kind of things that for me, I think shaped what I was doing. And being a jazz program, at that time, I maintained that my mission was not to become a jazz musician. And something that I received a bit of a pushback from some of my fellow students and some lecturers, no names mentioned. So some of my lecturers were not happy that in the day I was attending this jazz course at university, and in the evenings I was playing with rock and pop bands. But I also had to finance part of my studies, so I had to be gigging, you know. And that's still the same kind of approach that I maintain today, that I did the program and I don't regret having done the program, because there's a language that I wanted to learn from the program, the jazz language. And I think the jazz language doesn't just get used to make people become jazz musicians, but it can help you navigate all kinds of music, you know. And so I'm forever grateful for having been part of the program. I've done a number of things since then, not just performing, but writing music for TV and film, and doing workshops. I love teaching. I enjoy teaching. So I do a lot of music business workshops. And maybe just quickly, I will share a new project that I'm starting next month in May. It's a series of bass guitar workshops for girls. And it's not just the playing, but the music business part of it, and also the technical side of it, the amplifiers, the gadgets, because usually that's left for the boys and their toys, you know. So we're trying to change that space, and we're going to do a pilot next month with 20 young girls. And I've invited some prominent lady bass players, Romy Proteseth and Aus Debza, because I think it's important for the girls to see role models that are really doing this. So I don't know if it's growing older, but I just feel like, you know, every day I want to wake up and really do things that I'm passionate about, more and more now. So that's partly what I'm doing. I haven't been playing much in terms of my solo project, partly because over many years, I've been sitting on so many boards and like Atlas starting all kinds of associations and so on. But I feel like I've done that now. I want to go back to making music. So I feel like I've just discovered the art of making music, actually, even at the age of 55. So yeah, it's exciting times. And really, thank you so much that we can spend this time to reflect on the past 40 years of the jazz program. And I hope and trust that the jazz program will speak to the needs of today's students. And just like I felt when I joined the program, that my idea was not necessarily to become a jazz musician, I see more and more of that now, that some young students will acknowledge and appreciate the program, but they want to use it for different reasons. And I hope the program is sensitive to that and not just wanting to make them become jazz musicians. I think I'll stop there for now.
Thanks, Concord. I do want to come back to you on that point about the project involving the women bass players, actually, because it's actually funny, because as you know, I run the Akusa Arts program, and we have also started a project, which is a mentorship project, which is specifically for young women instrumentalists. So we'll talk after the session, but
yeah, definitely.
But besides plugging the project, I also bring it up because to me it's also interesting, because something came up in one of the webinars yesterday, where it wasn't about women in music, but there seems to be a shift that we specifically see in higher education, where there seems at the moment to be less interest in people playing instruments. You know, as we see the music industry shifting, and we see electronic and digital music, you know, changing the face of the industry, it's quite challenging, at least at UKZN, and you know, perhaps there are a different set of implications, or you know, obviously each institution is different, each province is different, all the students are different, but we definitely have seen a decrease in interest in people learning instruments. There's still a huge interest in singing. As you know, KZN is quite a historically strong choral and vocal music province. So we're never short of singers. Yay! Of course, that keeps me happy. But besides just students in schools and in community projects seemingly less interested in picking up an instrument and rather preferring to, you know, create music, to create digital music, nothing wrong with that. And as my colleague and friend Neil Gonzalez always says, the studio has become the new instrument. So we get a lot of applications from students who want to come and study music but don't play an instrument and they don't sing, but they just want to do the production side. And of course, we could have a whole webinar on that as well. It's not really where I want to go right now, but my point being, as we see the industry shift into, you know, it's not really that new anymore, but the digital era, how do you, each of you, see this impacting on the way we teach music, the way we create music, the way we consume music, and the work that you do in the projects that, you know, and the teaching that you do, and then we'll come back to the music business side, which is very important. And I didn't want to stop that discussion, but I want to just revisit this quickly before we go into the actual business side.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll start with you, Concord. We can pass it around a bit, but since you brought that up.
Yeah, sure. I guess one has to have a broader view of what is happening. But for an example, one thought that just jumps to mind is there's a reason why musical instrument retailers are actually growing in leaps and bounds. So there is a demand.
Yeah.
It's just that the people that seem more prominent, that become famous and big, it looks like that is the music that is going. But music programs where young people are learning to play instruments and so on is still there, is still intact. And I think there is a lot to be done in that regard. But I'm interested in also using technology to fuse with what we do instrumentally. So for an example, someone who's an amazing bass guitarist is not just using the bass guitar to trigger bass sounds. So they could use the bass to trigger all kinds of sounds. I mean, I saw a guy who plays a guitar, but only triggering orchestral strings sounds. So when you come to a band with that kind of ability, you have so much more to offer. But still the basics of learning to play the instrument remain intact. I think, let me say just that for now.
Yeah, and I suppose, you know, it's also about switching that narrative between wanting to become a celebrity, wanting to be famous, and actually, you know, bringing the music back to the center, whether we create it using instruments or whether we create it digitally, you know, is irrelevant, but it's about the music and not about the product or the result of the music, as in, you know, am I coming to study music? For example, not everyone studies music, we acknowledge that as well, but, you know, am I doing this because I want to be famous, or am I doing it because I love the music, or I want to, you know, use the music to say something? What do you think, Maya?
Well, I think like with my own students, actually my first point is that, you know, as a vocalist and I go into studio, I write the songs. I'm not a great instrumentalist. I can say that from knowing this. But what I'm good at doing is writing songs and writing good quality lyrics and understanding how to convey emotion and storytelling. But I can tell you some of the most interesting and sometimes most frustrating experiences I've had is in studio, and you're working with people that have very limited musical knowledge. Not that they're not genius at what they do, but you go in there and you're kind of expecting to be able to speak a language with each other, and it's hard for you to think, not that they think small, but to streamline your sense of thinking in order to get the musical idea across quickly so that you can get the work out. Not that you want to also, you know, curb the creative experience, but there's so much value in understanding and knowing and creating within the space of understanding how music works in a theoretical way. And you're not really going to get that unless you have instrumental knowledge, in my personal opinion. So I'm able to work with these like electronic music producers and stuff, but it can be frustrating. It can be very, very frustrating. Right now I'm working in a smaller project. I mean, it hasn't blown up yet, but we had a gig the other day with a band where all the cats in the band are really great instrumentalists, but we're fusing electronic music and we're fusing, you know, the drummer is a jazz drummer, the keyboard player is a jazz keyboard player, and the bassist is from the church, and so everything is lekker there, you know. But having played in experiences and situations with people that have very limited knowledge and only in studio, it becomes an inhibitor to be able to create at the best possible level that everyone can create at. And then the second, is there anything that you'd like to add there, or can I move on to my next point? Okay, so with my students that I teach singing to mostly, some piano students at their beginning phase, when then I send them on to Debbie to get much better, is I think, maybe I'm wrong, but it feels to me that almost everyone in their music journey wants to be famous at one point. And you learn that it's not about the fame eventually, but I don't know how some people, it takes a very long time to figure that out. I probably only figured that out 4 years after varsity, but I aged very slowly. I thought that some wonderful human was going to come into my life and say, oh, you're so amazing. You know, Harry Belafonte type person is going to come in and sweep me away, and bless his soul, and, you know, make it into everything. We're all talented. We're all amazing. We're all individuals. We're all authentic. But if we can't translate that into being ourselves in the moment, and fame doesn't come through fame, it comes through the journey, it comes through the flexibility, it comes through the adventurous spirit, it comes through the motivation, it comes through the passion, it comes through the, God, I could just use lots of words to describe it, but these are just, you know, you have to have the right personality and the right attitude in order to make it in music business, and the business of music and music business. And if you don't have that, you got to learn it quickly. You got to learn it quickly, because you step out of varsity, or even before varsity, no one cares what you learned in the varsity. They know how you make them feel. And if you've got the tools from university to step into a studio or to step onto a stage with wonderful, amazing, you know, musicians, and you have that language that you're able to translate your thoughts and your creativity quickly, the possibilities are absolutely endless. But if you just don't have the motivation, the passion, the right attitude, and the right personality for whatever situation it is, it's going to be difficult. You got to be flexible.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I love the way that you actually summed that up. So perfectly said. While you were speaking, I was also thinking, you know, all of those things are so true. but at the center of all of that remains the work, remains the hard work. And, you know, for you, it happened, you know, you said 4 years out of varsity. Whereas
I was not a great student. I'm sure all my lecturers at UKZN can say Maya was a difficult student because I would run away and I would go write songs in the practice rooms, and then I'd come back with a new composition. They're like, but that's not what we're doing. I'm sure Mageshan has endless nights of thinking of how I frustrated him.
well, so
But
those would be one of our best students. But I do want to bring it back to that work, that hard work, that perseverance. We've already saw that in Atlas and his journey. And for you, Maya, I don't know about the others, but I'm really super keen to hear about the Henley experience. But I do want us to also, and Concord, you can help us out here too, is to bring back the focus to the business side. Because, you know, we can talk about the music, we can talk about the creativity, but we're really supposed to be talking about, you know, what is this entrepreneurship in music and music business. So once we get going, once we've hit the music industry, we've entered the music industry, we're brimming with creative ideas. Why is it, at least in South Africa, that the music industry is so complicated? I know you can't really answer that as a one big open-ended question, but we've got the legal side, we've got the promotional side, we've got the copyright side, we've got all of the rights, we've got all of the streaming, we've got and the whole landscape is shifting, and it's shifting so fast. You know, every day it's something new. It was Napster, now it's Apple Music. You know, we feel like we're going, you know, in leaps and bounds, and technology is advancing so fast. So for, you know, someone who's starting out, the creative side is taken care of, the music is happening. Let's talk a little bit about the business side. What advice, for example, what advice would you have for someone starting out, ready to take on, let's say, the music industry and their music business journey? Do you want to start, Concord?
Okay. So what I often talk about, firstly, in the music business workshops, is that I'm not sure if the music industry still exists. If it does, then it does not exist for the musician. So the buzzword at the moment is create your own music industry. And the obvious question is, what does that mean? You can make it mean what is necessary for you to exist in the music space. So some of us have started moving away from what is still known as the music industry, which is run by certain gatekeepers, often who know nothing about music. Largely, they come from a marketing kind of space. So musicians are constantly being forced to think in that way. So even your musicianship doesn't really matter. It's about how you push yourself, how you can get so many followers online and likes and so on. And so you're finding that more and more musicians are focusing on that. And there's a space for that, because obviously the music we create, we want to put it out there, we want people to hear it, we want them to see what we do. But that's not the core, that's not the essence of what we do. And it's become very difficult for musicians. And even, earlier Atlas was talking about funding. That's another space where the shift is like, in a day, I will spend 70% of the time looking for funding, and the other time maybe practicing or writing a song. And many musicians are struggling to exist in that kind of space because there's so much pressure. And at the end of the day, when you get turned down on that funding, you realize I've sacrificed so much. I haven't practiced, I haven't written a song. So as you were saying, Debbie, some people are giving up and moving away from the space. But I just want to encourage us all that we need to find ways to create our own industry. Maybe we'll need another webinar to dig in a little deeper into this. But I've found that people I'm able to get opportunities through are people that are far from the music industry. A quick example, had a chat with a guy who runs a construction company, and I go to his website, I see the mission statement and so on. So I say to him, the people that you work for, do they understand, do they connect with what the company stands for? And he says, nah, I mean, they just come every day, work, go home, and that's it. So I say, you've got such a beautiful mission statement. Can I write a song for your company in a style of music that your workers can relate to, and see what happens? But the bonus is that your company now will have an artistic identity in a form of a song. And he says, I've never thought about that. Let's give it a try. So it's something we're still pursuing, but he's willing to put money into it just so that it can influence his workers, which will then speak to the work ethic in his company. So it's those kind of things that usually will gravitate towards someone who's known to be some big time producer in New York, and leave other opportunities that are actually showing to us every day. So yeah, we need to find ways to create our own music industries in a way.
I love that idea, and it brings me to another question, which is around the apprehension towards running your music career like a business. So, you know, just listening to you approaching the construction company, you know, to me, I can think that that's, you know, no different to someone working in advertising or in marketing that, you know, approaches a company and says, hey, you know, wouldn't you like to have your logo or your presence on this billboard, or, you know, we're selling space or advertising. Yeah. So, and it's business because, you know, someone needs to earn money, or someone needs to make money, or someone's being paid on commission. So they go out and they're finding their clients. Sometimes there's an apprehension, as Maya said, you know, we can't sit and wait for someone to save us as musicians. We have to get out there and make it happen. This is such a wonderful example, Concord, of, you know, of making it happen in that way. And I certainly hope that he's going to, you know, put money and invest money, because we wouldn't want to see you doing all of that and not being paid for it, right? But why is there sometimes apprehension? You know, people feel sometimes, not always, but, you know, I have had conversations with people that don't like to find that link between the creative and the business. And, you know, they feel that it's separate. There's the creativity over here and there's the business side over here. But we're living now in an age where it's almost expected that we do it ourselves, that we, you know, because we can. There is no longer a need for agents and middle people, you know, because of technology. Aptus, do you want to give us your thoughts?
On the current topic, Debbie.
Sure.
Yes. I think the common denominator we have to find here is to link or compare the links, and make a sense of it with regard to how to make it happen, with like from the creating part of it and the marketing part of it, or the monetization of that product, you know. So that is our, actually comes with this overwhelming confusion that a lot of musicians are actually dwelling in. We are dwelling in a very, very environment whereby I can say we are very much confused as musicians as to really how can where our money is, you know. Well, a common answer to this now, because the industry, as much as it is taking away our music listening devices, so if they phase away gramophone and they phasing away the CD players, they are phasing away the vinyl playing devices. So it means they want the community to use the cell phones, or rather any device that is in the car, which is actually not a CD player. And that is leading exactly to a situation whereby we are not being able to sell our own music. So it means someone out there, unfortunately not even in South Africa, someone out there in other countries, they are selling our music as we are from different countries, but we are getting so less in terms of the revenue. So that is why I'm saying the revenue for the musicians. Now we are at the peak of the shift, whereby we have to decide as to how do we make money. So I think musicians could actually now realize that the only point whereby we can make money is only through the performances. I think the performances part, they cannot take away that from us, So now what we have to do is to make sure that we keep our audience as closer as possible, so that they can be able to see them supporting us physically exchange, So that is why maybe we're seeing the festivals, the concerts, is something that we have to look at, because at the end of the day, releasing that product online, it actually serves as a catalog. So a catalog is something that you designed and issued out there, which is actually marketing your business. So then our digital release is a catalog that we are able to send to the people out there and call them to our festivals, call them to our concerts, So I currently see the university, UKZN, trying its best to keep the music alive, keeping those students and graduates and we name them. They are kind of busy, and we are excited that we do have this month of April, and we have to make it work, because it is actually the fundamental starting point whereby it is going to escalate to other months, and ending up celebrating holistically the live performance, So my input in this one is that let's just encourage our live performances and feel closer to our audience. And at the moment, South Africa is still keeping on buying those CDs. So maybe let's convey the messages that let's deliberately just don't move fast, Let us just not move fast, so that you are going to be able to consume the music in a conventional way, which is actually so much closer to us. Don't get rid of that CD player. Don't remove your CD player from your car, because you want to keep on consuming and enjoying our music, So yeah, that's my insight.
Yeah, and I really do. I like what you said about the idea of monetizing the music, and of course, as we know, it comes with huge challenges. But I'm wondering, Maya, if I can ask you, because we have about 5 minutes left, I think. But if you could try to somehow link that idea with this generation of musicians now shifting into this digital era. Well, not only this generation, many generations are still, we're all still in it. Thank heavens I'm not starting out a new career at this point in life. But have we created a generation of artists, who are stuck now as we are shifting? Younger people are hip to it. Younger people can run with it. Younger people are much more informed than we were when we were starting out. Or has it created an opportunity for innovation and for entrepreneurship, like we have seen in U3? And maybe your experience at Henley can speak to that.
Well, I absolutely agree. I agree with the latter statement. I think that it's the opportunity to move forward and to create opportunities. I think, the word entrepreneur, I'm so fascinated with this word. It means to undertake in French, right? So when we as creative entrepreneurs, and I think that every single musician that will come out of any circumstances, whether it be institutional or non-institutional, is an undertaker. If you've created an album or a body of work, that is a very difficult thing to do, especially on your own. Everyone deserves a master's or a doctorate for just creating a CD, to create an album. And I can say that my journey into studying music business was basically, creative entrepreneurs are people that don't see risks as threats, but they see opportunities as a potential for growth. That's what I learned also through this business school. It was just so that I went into it in lockdown and I had not much to do. So I focused myself into studying business. I won't say that the idea of studying business is the beginning and ending of knowing everything. I feel when I went in there, I thought that I didn't understand these acronyms that all these corporate people were speaking. It took me 6 months to figure out what people were talking about. I learned through that course, but I am an advocate for saying that everyone should try to do some sort of business course as some way, shape, or form. It doesn't necessarily have to be music business. I think that's also self-study as well. You need to know those things as a musician, as a creative, but being able to be in an environment with a lot of corporate people, I learned the most valuable lesson of my life, that creative thinkers and musicians and artists all across the board, we are the most entrepreneurial group of human beings on earth. We cry, but we let the emotion out. We don't keep it in. We put it on paper. We're able to, yes, we're allowed to, we can make up things very well because we're good at improvising. So writing papers, that's a difficult thing to do. But I found that in my class of about 40 different students, that they would send me messages to say, we never understood that you have to think about things from a humanitarian point of view. And musicians and creatives are always thinking about others and community and how to grow identity through culture and including people. We are inclusive people, and it almost feels emotional to me to say this, but I feel like the more that we could advocate for universities to sort of partner with the business school in the university itself and to switch programs between maybe the music department and the business department and making them come to our classes and we go to their classes so that we could learn, we could become much better whole, well-rounded people out in the business environment, thinking about it from a humanitarian point of view and understanding that, yes, as musicians and creatives, we have to speak their language because they are not taking the time to understand us, but we are understanding people and we are people that are able to harness, each other. We talk about networking and finding a mentor. So, I think I was always running around all people at university. I'm more interested in learning from mentorship and learning from networking than I am really about the theoretical knowledge sometimes. But we on this panel right now, and including yourself, we're connectors. We're always starting new business ideas. They might not be monetarily very financially successful, but they are emotionally successful. And we don't fall down and break our leg. We break our leg, but we get back up because we got another leg, maybe. Wow. We don't just scrape our knee. It's born out of hard work. And I think that this generation, older people are always complaining about younger people, but And I've recently made that transition into my 40s now. So I'm complaining about young people all the time. But I just find it so amazing how resilient young people are and how open to opportunity and finding opportunities to grow and not thinking about them as threats. And that's what it is connected to the music business point. I know we only have a few seconds left, so I'm going to leave it there and thank you.
A wonderful way for us to wrap up the session. Thank you, Maya. So the last couple of words from each of you, if you will. It's been, can I just say before we go, it's been amazing having this discussion, and each of the points that we actually made could have been its own webinar. So we'll keep these webinars going annually if our partners will remain on board. But yeah, before we just hear our final words from each of you, I would like to thank again all of our partners, and thanks to anyone who's joined us on the live chat. And to those who prefer to watch it later, we hope that you found this informative and interesting, and we really hope to keep these discussions alive. And I'd like to thank Concord and Maya and Atlas for your time today and your generosity in sharing your ideas and your thoughts. So just a minute each as we wrap up. Atlas, perhaps you could do your little wrap up with a quick advert for your upcoming festival, because we did say we'd like to hear a bit about that, but maybe you could just give us the information, tell us when the launch is and how people can get tickets as your goodbye.
Okay, thank you so much, Debbie. And I'm very, very honored to be part of this webinar. And we thank everyone who is involved to make it happen. Yes, guys, we do have this festival. Richard Bonner confirmed. There's this lady from Japan, Yayoi Ikawa. Then, so those are international guys that are joining us, and Nduduzo Makatini will be with us. I must say, Dr. Nduduzo Makatini. We do have Sly Loselota, we've got Mtobisi Mtarana, Mkumbane Jazz Ensemble, Bongani Kanyana, and the trio, Nips, Demi, and Neil. So they will be rocking the stage. And well, there are so many artists that are going to be joining us. So it's going to be overwhelming at the station. At the station, there's this beautiful building on top of the Durban Station complex. So it's there on the 3rd of June, 2023. On the 3rd of June, 2023, tickets are already available at Web Tickets or at Pick n Pay. So various charges depending on whether you also need parking, you also need some more beverages. So, but tickets are out there with different prices. So we actually inviting you guys to be there. It's gonna be a phenomenal musical extravaganza.
Thank you, Atlas, and we wish you all the best for the festival. You will certainly see us all there. Maya, your parting words?
I wish I could fly in for the festival, but I'll be applying next year for sure. Watch out for my name, Atlas. Not nepotism, but I mean, you know, networking. Networking, not nepotism, or cronyism. What I wanted to say was a point just quickly about what Concord was saying. One of the most valuable things I ever learned to do was ask for funding and to be able to write a proposal. You have to speak the language that they understand, and I mean they, because you need to be a facilitator for your own change and your own development and your own growth. Nobody's going to do it for you. Unfortunately, there is no wonderful big person out there with lots of money that's going to give it to you to make it go forward. If not, I have not met them yet. And writing proposals, looking for funding, look on all these wonderful, fabulous websites. There's Music in Africa, which if none of your students know about it, they must sign on to it. It gives out a newsletter once a month, I think. And then it's got a lot of different applications you can apply for. Get a proposal that you've just got saved on your computer, and you can just amend it every single time and you send it through. The only thing that people can say, the worst thing they can say is no.
Thank you for that.
Just the two-letter word.
We'll certainly also put that information out and up for people who'd like to see it. Concord?
Yeah. Yeah, oh, sorry. Yeah, just finishing off, also following on Maya's words. It's interesting to me how we insist on being creative in the process of making music, but we don't want to be creative in the process of getting the music out. I just want to leave us with those words, and hopefully those words will address the misconceptions around what entrepreneurship is. It doesn't have one face. We all can be various and different kind of entrepreneurs. And in the chat section, I just left a link to the project that I'm currently involved with. So anyone who wants to check it out can check it out. Thank you so much to each one of you. It's been awesome. I hope we'll get to do this again.
Amazing. So do I. Thank you so much, Concord, Nkabinde, Maya, Spectre. And
Thank you.
it's been amazing spending the afternoon with you. And we hope to see you all very soon. Come and visit us at UKZN, Centre for Jazz and Popular Music. You know that the doors are always open. We hope to see you all soon. Thanks, everyone.